Okay, so we've got our time counting down. Now we need to make the score system work in the game. So we're obviously going to need to keep track of our current score, and then we're going to need to add score for each gem that we destroy. So the first thing we're going to do is open up our round manager script, and then in here we're going to have a public int value that we're going to call current score. So that's going to be the current score we have in the game. And then in the update loop, we're going to keep that updated visually. So we're going to say on the UI manager dot score text dot text that we set up previously, we set that to be equal to whatever our current score dot toString is. So we're converting it to a string so it can be displayed properly in the text box. So what we then need to do is, of course, we need to update this. So to update it, we need to know how much value each gem should have. So in our gem script, we're going to create up here a public int value for gem score. Or no, actually, we're going to call this score value. There we go. I think that makes a bit more sense. And by default, I'm going to set that to be 10. 10 is perfectly fine. And then what we want to do is whenever we destroy a gem, we want to give ourselves points for that gem. So let's jump into our board script, and then down the very bottom we're going to add a new function. We're going to add a public void score check, like so. And in here we're going to pass in the gem that we want to check the score for. So gem to check. And then what we're going to do is say on our round manager that we already have a reference to, we're going to say take the current score and add the gem to check dot score value. So we're just putting one line in here for now. And you might be thinking, oh, why are we just putting in one line of code in this function? It could just, instead of calling a function, it could just be this one line of code. Well, in a few minutes we're going to return back to this, and we're going to add some multipliers for when you create a whole bunch of matches in a row. But for now, we're just going to keep it simple with just adding on the score value. So we've got our score value. We're adding that to our current score. When are we going to call this? Well, we're going to call this whenever we destroy some matches. So let's go up to our destroy matches function where we're destroying the match gem. And actually, before we even destroy the match gem, just when we're looping through the entire board and finding ones to destroy. So here where we've got a null reference, where we've got not a null reference, and we know we're looking at the current matches list on our match finder, so we know that a match has been found for a particular gem. So we can just say run the score check function, and the gem we want to pass in is the current one we're looking at. So the match find dot current matches at position I. So whatever the current match is that we're looking at, then we want to say, hey, add some score for that because we're about to destroy it. Okay, so let's save and let's go back and see that in action. It's pretty simple to add in, but it will hopefully work out nicely for us. And if we look at our gems prefabs, once that compiles, you'll see each one of them now has a score value of 10, but I'm going to add something to our bomb to make this have a value of 100, just to make it stand out a bit differently. If I go ahead and play now, if we match up our red ones, there we go, we get some score. And we got a whole bunch of score there because we've got two bombs exploding at once. Okay, so we've got our score appearing. Actually, just before we do too much, let's put our round time back up to something high. We don't want our round ending so easily all the time. So we've got our scores appearing nicely. Now, one thing that will make the score feel a bit more fun as well is to not have it just instantly pop to the value that we have. We can make that, instead of just becoming the number, we want what we see displayed over here to gradually go to that number, to make it smoothly go to that position, or to go to that value. So how we can do that is if we jump back into our round manager script, and we'll do this here just because that first bit was pretty easy to do, so we might as well roll into doing this bit here too. All we're going to do is right at the top here, below where we have our current score, we're going to add in a public float display score, and the display score is what we're actually going to send out over here. So we're going to say, we're going to put the score text to be our display score, And what our display score is going to be is just display score equals mathf.lerp. And if you remember, we used lerp to make our gems gradually move into position, which made them move a big amount at first and slower as they get towards the point. So we're just going to use mathf.lerp here as well to say lerp from whatever display score currently is towards our current score. So whatever the current score is, the actual score that we've set behind the scenes. And then we need to say how fast that should happen. So for that, we'll need one more variable up here, a public float score speed. And then here we're going to say score speed. Oh, I don't know why I tried to autofill that one. Let's go with score speed multiplied by time.delta time. Again, to make it smooth across all systems. Okay, so that'll be perfectly fine. We'll add one more thing to that because we're going to see a slight bit of weirdness when we do this, but the general concept will work nicely. So now if I go ahead and play, and if I make a match, if we keep an eye on our score. Oh, no, that's not updating correctly at all. Why is that not? Oh, because of course our score speed is 0. Let's put that at 5, I think it should be a good value. Yeah, we'll go with 5. So again, we'll try this, and there we go. We get our number gradually going up to the point we want, but of course we don't want all those horrible decimal places and making it jump and bounce around like that. So let's go back into our script, and where we have our toString, like we did before, where we put it at 0.0. Instead of, we don't want to have any decimal places at all in our score. We want to just have it be the actual number. So we're just going to say in quotation marks 0. So 0 without any decimal places is a way to convert a number and just make it a whole number. So let's save that. We'll go back in here, let that compile, and then when I play, if we swipe this over, there we go, we get our number jumping up nicely. So let's destroy some more things here to see if we can get some big numbers. Let's blow up these gems, or blow up these bombs even. Oh yeah, we're getting some nice things here. So now you can see the number gradually goes up and gets nicer. It's just a nice way of displaying the number, so it makes it look a bit more interesting for our players. There we go. That's the basics of our score system working perfectly nicely.